This episode of Slatki Stol is in partnership with and sponsored by Lionheart Pro, catering to all your filming needs.
The quote by John Adams is, "I must study politics and war, that our sons may have liberty to study mathematics and philosophy, in order to give their children a right to study painting, poetry, and music."
Welcome to this episode of Slatki Stol, where we cover the age-old topic of what should you be when you grow up.
It could be a flaw if you look at it that way, associating your career or your success to your self-worth.
There's no wrong answer, only opinions of what route you should
Do
take.
you guys think it's easier for Bukharian men or women to go into unconventional?
We discuss topics like if higher education is worth the loans, status of a job, and the pressure to impress your family and community.
My success is their success, makes me want to push further in life.
We have to distinguish between what we want in our lives and what our parents want for themselves.
I am a worthy human being, regardless of what I do for a living.
You're also looking at it a way like I got locked up in prison for 8 years. I've met people along the way. I've had experiences along the way.
I'd rather be in prison than look at teeth.
Everyone is going for dentistry.
At some point, everything we're doing was unconventional. Then there was a trailblazer. There's somebody who cracked the code.
Pastaf chai, grab your sandwichki, and enjoy. I decided to choose a safe career path and put my dreams to the side.
So one of the dreams that I had to do when I was younger was to be a baker. And when I was in high school and I wanted to raise money, I was baking cake pops and different types of pastries, and I was wrapping them up very nicely and selling them. And from there, I made a good amount of money, and I thought that that's what I wanted to do. I was always watching Carlos Bakery and Ace and all these baking shows. And one day, my mom told me, "Hey, you want to do nursing? That's what you're going to do. You're going to go to Adelphi University, and that's that." And I said, okay. I guess I went the safer route by going to school, getting educated, and knowing that I was going to get a job by being a nurse since there's always such high demand. So when I had the option and the thought of becoming a nurse, I chose that route, and this is where I am now, and I'm okay with it. Hi, my name is Jamie. I'm currently a registered nurse at NYU. Right now, I work in the pain management department. I am currently in school for my nurse practitioner program. I am about to graduate in a few days, and I am looking forward into going into like orthopedic medicine or going into sports medicine, so that's something I became passionate about over time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You gotta spill the tea, right? I disagree, because I had the option to pursue pharmacy. My father wanted me to become a pharmacist. He said, "You have to apply for St. John's. It's a free application. You have nothing to lose." And I got in. The night I had it to decide, I was kind of unsure. I decided, maybe let me flip a coin. So I did flip a coin, and it landed on not going for pharmacy. So I studied math instead, with an unknown path of what I was going to go after. Hi, I'm Edward Ilyasov. I'm the founder and owner of Uncle Ezek's Pickles, which is a pickle startup based in Queens. We now sell our products in over 50 supermarkets in 4 different states. I'd say the vast majority of people are consumers, and maybe 10% of people are producers. So if you find that you're a creative person, that you're a leader of some sort, I would say do not take the conventional route. You will enslave yourself, and you will indebt yourself to something that you can't escape. If you have the courage, go for the unconventional route, and if you fail, that's okay.
So I didn't necessarily put my dreams to the side because I don't think that I necessarily had a dream. As a kid, I knew absolutely that I wanted to go to an Ivy League school, which I did that. But when I got there, I really didn't know where I wanted to go with my career. Originally, I was like, oh, maybe I'll go into finance. And then after that, I actually did intern for a summer in finance. I kind of didn't like it. My sister also had a background in finance, and she also didn't like it. So I was like, oh, let me go into sales and marketing. So that's what I did. And I honestly fell into the career that I have now. Like, I stumbled upon it. It wasn't something that I set off to the side. That's why I kind of disagree with the point. I wasn't scared to kind of pursue my passion and my dream. I kind of just like went with it as like, all right, let me just try it out and feel it out and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work out, then I can always go back to what I was doing before. Hi guys, my name is Milana Israelov, aka Millie Pop. I am a floral decor, balloon decor, and event planning company. I worked in a corporate job for 5 years, and then I decided to open up Millie Pop. And I kind of veered off completely, threw my Ivy League education out the window and opened up a flower company that specializes in large event production.
So I'm in between as well. I initially wanted to go for finance, and then I really got taken by real estate development. So I really wanted to be a real estate developer. It's just that it happened to be that when you come out without an advanced degree, there's not much you can really do in the field without money or connections. And so I said, let me just go to law school, get a degree, and then use that as a springboard to then go into development. So I wouldn't say I pushed off my dreams. I would say I took a longer route to get there, and now I have options to go to development or to practice law, but it created opportunities. So sometimes deferring will give you more options in the future.
My name is Roman Aminoff. I'm a trust and estates attorney. I help people put together their estate plans to make sure that everything they've worked so hard for over the course of their life is protected and transferred in a smooth and efficient way to their families.
I have a lot of trust within my parents, and I felt like they would know a better direction in the career choice that I should pick. And so I listened and I went for it, and slowly it became my passion.
So I agree with that, and my mom and my dad gave me the same advice, and they're like, do this, become a lawyer or become a doctor. And I loved law, I loved saving people, like I always wanted to be a doctor as a kid. But then I looked at all the people in my life that were these professional people with these careers, and I'm like, is that what I want to do? Do I want to wake up 9 to 5, go on vacation twice a year? Hell no, you know? If I don't feel good, I want to go take care of myself and, go to Paris for the week, or I just wanted to have my own freedom. So I did listen to them, but I looked, right, at all these people, and I'm like, I don't want what they have.
So I understand that, which is why I went and furthered my education in becoming a nurse practitioner, which is where you do have that leverage to be able to be your own boss and not have to worry about working a 9 to 5, which I absolutely do not like working a 9 to 5. I'm okay with authority, but I don't like when people tell me what to do with my time. I feel like there's always both ways, but not always.
My name is Michelle Arenbayev, and I'm the founder and CEO of Velvet Caviar. I've always been obsessed with fashion tech and iPhones and all things Apple, so I never saw anything out there in the world like what I wanted to buy for my phone or for my laptop cases, so I thought, let me make them. And I've always been obsessed with social media, so that's pretty much how I started.
I felt pressured by my family/community to pursue a higher education because of the status that it brings.
Growing up, I didn't really have a dream. I didn't know what to do and what was the right thing to do. But my family, my mother especially, told me I have to be a doctor, I have to be a dentist, because I'm gonna have a high education, I'm gonna make a good amount of money for my family, and the status is gonna be really high. People will respect me because I'm a doctor. And most, I think, Bukharian parents, what they want for their kids is respect, and they want status. They want that status from their kids to kind of elevate to themselves as well. So I think I did a lot of it for my parents, my family around me, and I'm happy. I think they're happy about it too. Hi, I'm Avi Tokov, and I'm a dentist. I'm currently working as an associate in my father-in-law's practice, and I'm in the process of getting my own practice. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a little bit confused growing up, and my mom one day just told me, you know what, why don't you become a dentist? And I kind of talked about it with some people, and it seemed like I got positive feedback on it, and I kind of just went for it and stuck for it, and here I am.
I definitely feel like I was pressured into going into higher education. In my family, it was a little bit different. I wasn't necessarily pressured to be a doctor or a dentist or something like that, even though my parents would have been ecstatic if I did that. It was more so a big pressure on us to do astronomically well in school and to get into a really, really good college. So for me, that was Columbia. My father was like so over the moon happy when he found out about my acceptance, and so were my parents, and obviously it's a really, really huge accomplishment. But yeah, I definitely think that there's like a huge dark cloud over the kids in our community where they feel like they have to put out a specific level of like education or a specific level of status to compete with their peers and with their parents' expectations.
Yeah, I agree with that, because when I was applying for school, my mom said, you're going to Adelphi University and you're going to get into the nursing school right away, which I understood. I was not, I guess, pressured to go into that school, and why I kind of regret it is because it was just so expensive and so costly that it makes me kind of rethink what I did. But then again, it's already too late to go back. But going forward within the future, I can just recommend and give advice to those that are going into that career. So I'm happy at least I'm able to give in my opinion to others and let them do what they want.
So I'd say that everyone wants their, at least Bukharians, all want their kids to be doctors, but none of them wants to go to a doctor. So we have to distinguish between what we want in our lives and what our parents want for themselves. Most of our parents want what's best for themselves, not necessarily what's best for you. A lot of the times there's a big overlap between those two, right? Let's say, for example, you have a child that's not so smart. You're like, hi, it's not so safe, right? Because you'll know that hopefully they'll get married from it, right? They don't want their daughters to become doctors because how are you going to get married when you're 30? A lot of it has to do with their own reputation, and you have to see past that. I like thinking of life as an analogy, like as a soccer game. So imagine your ancestors are your teammates. They pass you the ball, right? Everyone's passing the ball. So your great-grandparents passed it to your grandparents passed it to your parents, and then eventually your parents passed the ball to you. Prior to this generation, our parents were in the Soviet Union. Before that, they were in Uzbekistan, potentially part of the Russian Empire or in Iran or anything like that. There was a lot of discrimination. There was a lot of turmoil, hunger. My grandfather starved during World War II. To take all their difficulties, and finally, we're the generation that has it the easiest. For me, I believe we have this shot on goal. Like we have this ability to shoot, not necessarily pass the ball to the next generation, but to actually do something that we're passionate about. And many of us are afraid, and we just want to pass the ball because our parents are saying, pass the ball. If you're in a well-to-do family, if you're already a second-generation American or first-generation American, I recommend shooting the goal, and hopefully you can score and make a life that you're proud of.
I didn't care, no, not really. So. I mean, honestly, I had pressure from myself to do something with my name, with my family's reputation. I had to do something amazing. Whatever I do, it has to be the best. I had that pressure, not necessarily to go to like an amazing school. No one ever put that on me, but they did say, whatever you do, you have to be better than everyone you know, better than us, because we just got here to this country and, you need to, don't disappoint us, don't embarrass us. I had that a lot, that's for sure.
I was fortunate, my dad's a doctor, so once you reach that bar, it's just like, where are you going to go from there? So I didn't feel much pressure. We had a conversation briefly. You want to go to medicine? No, I'm good. What do you want to do? I want to go finance. Great. And so I didn't feel much pressure from him. I had a lot of latitude there, but I could see why a lot of Bukharians would feel the pressure. And like Eddie said, if you're first generation, you come here, you gotta hustle. It's a little tough, but second generation, that's a perfect analogy. Like we were given that foundation that we can try and fail, and it's going to be okay. I'll disagree a little bit with what you said about, and I don't know if you meant it that way, but that parents primarily care about what's good for them. I think that they genuinely obviously care about their kids. I think that the way they're expressing it is through a lens of where they came from and what they were used to. And so it's like that disconnect between their need for security and safety and our ability for like self-discovery and self-actualization. They maybe don't have that same vision.
Well, they can only teach you what they know. And if that's all they know, they're not going to tell you to do something that's bigger because they never got there themselves.
Yeah. In the Soviet Union, you were never awarded for doing something different. If anything, you could be canceled or sent to jail for being a different or a dissident of any sort. So they came from a culture where conformity and having a stable job was the goal, right? Because then after that, your reputation is important. We live in a different society. We live in a society where non-conformity is awarded. You could be an influencer taking napkins off of cups from your stomach and become a millionaire from that, right? So whatever your weird niche is, whatever your weird passion is, you could make money off that now, and not like the Soviet Union.
I'm not a parent, but I would assume that parents feel as if their success is coming from their offspring because they are the ones raising us. And it does make me feel great that I'm able to make myself successful enough and be able for my parents to show me off. It feels good that I make my parents happy. Do I live for that? Not necessarily, because I do make my own decisions at the end of the day, but feeling that my success is their success makes me want to push further in life. One of my favorite things about being a nurse is being able to be a light in someone's life, to be educated enough to be able to help people through their disease process, or in my case, through their pain. My industry, you can be conventional, although you can also be unconventional by going into the nurse practitioner route and being able to open your own business as well. Within the career that I'm at, you can kind of really have a lot of lenience in going either which route that you'd like to go to.
One of my closest friends is Russ Yusupov, the guy that created Vine. So Russ told me a very funny phenomenon because we both lived through it. My father, when he found out that I was going to quit, he made it very difficult for me to leave finance. You know, obviously very disappointed in me. He's like, how could you leave such a stable job? You were making so much money, had great hours, you were doing what you loved. Tides changed the moment I was on the Bukharian Times. So once I was on the front page of the Bukharian Times and all his friends started talking about it, it was like, whoa, I'm not the son of Raphael. He's the father of Uncle Edik, right? It was like a weird thing. So he actually started gaining pride out of it secretly, right? Like he didn't really show it. When I told Russ about this, he said, yeah, it's crazy. When I became famous and I was all over the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, my parents didn't care. The moment I made it to the Bukharian Times, that's when it would matter to them. That's when they were so proud of me, right? So.
I wonder though, what is that about? Is that they just want to like look good in front of their community and that's it? Yeah. That's all it is to them?
Well, they're getting likes. They're getting likes in the community. That's what it is.
A special thank you to Mikihana Sushi and Poke for sponsoring today's video. If you're looking for kosher quality sushi, Mikihana is the place to go. Also available on Grubhub and Uber Eats. Also, thank you to King David for allowing us to host. If you or someone you know is looking to host an event, King David has 3 beautiful rooms which can accommodate from 20 to 200 people. They treat you as their personal friend, not just as another client. Now back to the show. I felt discouraged to pursue a career I was passionate about because it's less lucrative.
I think everyone's discouraged if they believe that the job that they love wouldn't earn them money. I would love to have been an artist or an architect or something like that. And I realized that maybe that's not lucrative. That's not how you can actually make a living easily, right? I think there's a case of that in every one of us.
I thought as a dentist I would make a lot of money. Like, I thought I would make enough money for what I wanted out of life. But now that I became a dentist, I'm like, okay, this is still not enough money.
Inflation.
Inflation's killing everyone, right? You make money, but you know, there's always you could do more. But I think at some point, and I'm starting to realize this now, I'm like 3 years out of school, at some point we have to kind of accept more money is not going to make you any happier, right? At some point you have to tell yourself, okay, this is enough for me where I could take care of my family, I could go on my vacations, I could buy a nice car, a house, this, that, I could have my investments, because the more money I make, the more I want to make. I realized it lately in the last few months that at some point you have to be happy.
If you want to be happy, then definitely do not start your own company. Don't.
I second this.
I disagree.
I mean, you'll be happy, but it's a lot of work. Like, it's a lot. Like, I like my nice things. I like to have my freedom, but I'm sacrificing a lot of time. Like, even with my family, like we just had Thanksgiving. I used to host Thanksgiving every year until I started my company. I don't even have time to like boil an egg or to cook something because I'm so busy. So I don't know, like I wouldn't tie what you do to happiness. Just do whatever you really want to do. But yeah, like I was saying, if you want to be happy, don't be an entrepreneur.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I literally have no life. My life is my business. I think also very important to say is the first 5 years of you starting a business, you are not making money. Like, even if you will break even if you're lucky, and that is because you have tons and tons of investments to make. And it is also, I read about the first 5 years of you building a business is you not making money, but you getting good at your job. So like for me, for example, even when I went into the decor business, even though I had like my father's reputation that preceded me, I needed to prove myself to people and to get them to trust me to do these large scale productions. You know what I mean? It's not like I just like poof out of thin air. I'm like, okay, let me just do this beautiful job for you. Like, you know, what do you have to show for it? So I really had to put in the legwork, and even now I barely see my family. I have a 3-year-old daughter. I like barely see her. I really I have a wonderfully supportive husband who really puts up with a lot. So unless you're really willing to like put in a lot of extra time, effort, energy into your business and you really wholeheartedly love what you do not do it, because you will be miserable if you have to dedicate all of that time.
Don't scare people.
No, I'm so serious.
It's not that bad. So I will say that you will make a lot of money, you know, if you know what you're doing. I'm sure you'll find a way, like talking to whoever's listening to this. If you want to be an entrepreneur, if you're lost, definitely do it if you think you have it in you. I truly think that our culture, our people, we're meant to be leaders.
I agree with that.
Like, I wouldn't say everyone, but a lot of us. I see it in like every Bukharian person I meet. So
even if you end up making money, like within your first 5 years of opening your business, God bless, good luck. Like, don't get me wrong, I do make money. Like, I'm not, you know, suffering. You sacrifice so much to grow your business.
I'll be honest, it's a little bit different for me.
Why, 'cause you make pickles?
So when I started working in Wall Street, it was a unique job where I had good hours. I was 23, making 6 figures, and one thing that I noticed is when I looked at my boss, and I had no debt, which is very rare because most Bukharians start life with debt after they graduate. I looked at my boss. He moved from Goldman, and what I noticed is he was making $1 million, at least $1 million a year, and he would eat his breakfast, lunch, and dinner in front of a computer screen. And he worked really long hours, and I was thinking to myself, okay, do I want to be this guy in 20 years? Is it worth being a millionaire to have to sit in front of a computer screen eating 15 meals a week, right? And the way I think about money is that it's a tool, right? If you were an alien and you came to planet Earth and you observe these people exchanging paper, you would think, okay, this is a tool because you can build a house with a hammer or you can build a house with money, right? You can acquire things with this currency, right? If money is a tool to get what you want, right, what is it that you want, right? So many of us believe that we work our job to make this money so that we could spend it to get what we want after work. In reality, you do that, you come home tired, all you want to do is watch TV, sleep, but then you have these annoying kids or wife or whatever, or husband, bossing you around.
I gotta be a wife.
So basically, the vast majority of you, if you're going to pursue a conventional career, are going to look forward to the 2 vacations that you're going to have per year, and you're just going to sit on a beach and just rot. Eventually, you're going to die. All right. I know this sounds terrible, but it's the truth, right? So what I believe is, if you could, if it's possible, if you have a passion that you could do full time, you're getting what you want by showing up to work. Right? So instead of having to pay for it, work your ass off 8 hours and then come home and use your currency to get what you want, you actually show up and your whole day is this opportunity, right? Entrepreneurship is not easy, right? They say there's the rule of threes if you're a good entrepreneur, right? You have every 3 days, so you're gonna have one day that's terrible, you feel like you're failing, one day that's normal, average, right? And then one day that's euphoric, right? You feel like you're super successful, right? If you have 3 days in a row that are really good, that means you're probably not trying hard enough, right? If you have 3 days that are average, then you're not really an entrepreneur. And if you have 3 days that are terrible, you're probably failing, right? You should give up, right? So if you're into that kind of stuff, you should be an entrepreneur.
I like this therapy session. I want to chime in. My wife's in the audience. I haven't taken a sick day in 13 years. We take few vacations, 4 vacations a year, but half of those I'll probably spend 9 to 5, probably half of those hours on the screen looking at the beach, Well, God bless her, she's got the patience to do her own thing. But it does take a lot out of you. If you want to be sort of, like someone said, the best at what you do, you really have to put in the time, because there's someone out there, as Mark Cuban says, who's working 24 hours to try to basically kick your butt. So there's a trade-off. If one could be so lucky to follow in Eddie's footsteps, to actually do what you love so it doesn't feel like work and still be successful at it, that's phenomenal. That's what you said. It's like passing the ball. Yeah. That's kind of what I think about what am I working for? What am I sort of trying to amass? And I guess my hope is that my kids would have the opportunity to take that shot on goal, to set them up in a way where they're incentivized to do something like grand, something major, that they wouldn't have otherwise felt comfortable to do. Because again, I still think as first-generation Americans, even though we know we have that opportunity to do something, I think we still are inculcated with those values from our parents. It's something you kind of have to work through. And my goal would be to set my kids up in a way, maybe through some sort of a trust where they're incentivized to actually do something meaningful, so they can actually go on vacation and enjoy themselves.
That's why it's so important to love what you're doing. Because when you go to work just to make money, like Eddie says, and then come home and you're exhausted and you can't even like function, it sucks. But if you really love it, it really doesn't feel like work. You ever sit at a table with a bunch of dentists?
It's terrible.
Don't we love our job? Right? Don't we love our job?
You know what it is? Dentists do love talking to each other about teeth, so they do find it interesting. There's so many problems. You can solve a lot of complex things.
There's a lot in it. There's a lot in it.
It's problem
crazy.
solving.
It's problem solving.
Yeah.
I feel as if just because you didn't go the entrepreneur route doesn't mean that you still don't have sleepless nights. And depending on the route that you pick, like you don't always have to work a 9 to 5. Like you could start being on a 9 to 5 job, but then eventually if you do fall in love with the business, it's never too late to make it your own as well.
I have one more thing to add to that. Regardless of whether you go the conventional or the unconventional route, I think that's something that we haven't touched on yet. As a woman in the Bukharian community, there's a certain level of expectation of like, not only should you be producing at the highest level in your career, but also in your home. And so like there's such a fine line between being super successful in your job and then also being able to take care of your kid and cook Shabbat dinner, be able to go to the daycare play and like all of that stuff that kind of falls on you. Even though I have a very, very supportive, very active husband who's like very involved in the raising of my child, but these are things that like a mom needs to do. So I know you don't have children yet, but like regardless of what you do, whether it's conventional or not conventional, I think that it's astronomically amazing that we as Bukharian women are able to do that and able to handle that stress load to work and take care of small children is amazing. Like, I just want to say that.
Can I ask just a question?
Sure.
Do you guys think it's easier for Bukharian men or women to go into unconventional careers?
Definitely men. It's definitely much easier because of that expectation that I just mentioned.
I just feel like men would have the additional pressure of like producing, so you go for the more certain job, where women may have the luxury, since the man is producing, to
That's a
just
good
sort of
point.
like try different things and work part-time.
I do have one quote that I wanted to add for the record. It is by our second president, John Adams. It's a very good quote, and it ties down to like giving for the next generation, right? The question is, at what generation do you start pursuing your risks? Are you part of that generation? So the quote by John Adams is, "I must study politics and war, that our sons may have liberty to study mathematics and philosophy, in order to give their children a right to study painting, poetry, and music."
Nice.
If you're enjoying our deep discussions on Slatki Stol, then you're going to absolutely love the Gabi Koinov podcast. Gabi's podcast is all about independent thinking, curiosity, and empowerment, featuring Bukharian voices and beyond, from mental health professionals to spiritual leaders and journalists. Subscribe to the Gabi Koinov podcast to enlighten, inspire, and entertain. Now available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere you really listen. I feel as though my self-worth is tied to my professional success.
I just think it feels good to go into work every day and know that there are people that are relying on you for really important decisions in their life, and that you're able to provide solutions to them in an effective and efficient way. I like the fact that you can provide for your family and help contribute to the community. So I think professional success is a big part of one's self-esteem.
From the day we go into school, from kindergarten, this is one of the most important things that anyone will ask you. What are you going to be when you grow up? Or when they meet you in general, they'll be like, what do you do? That's the first thing they're going to ask you. Your career or what you do and your spouse is probably the most important decisions you're going to make in your life before you start your life with the family and all that. And we need to be successful in what we do. We want to have self-worth, because otherwise, why are we here?
It could be a flaw if you look at it that way, like, associating your career or your success to your self-worth. But if you know how to channel that energy and do something great, I think you can do unimaginable things. It can take you really far. That's kind of what I did. Like, I used that energy and that association to build myself a life that I could only dream of. Like, I pictured what I wanted as a kid, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this, this, and that. And I used that power to build something great and to do something amazing that, I'm really happy with.
I actually strongly disagree. I don't think that anybody's career should be tied to their self-worth. I think that me as an individual, I feel like I am a worthy human being. I am worth everything that I should be worth, regardless of what I do for a living. And I think that there's a lot of people who may not know what they want in their life and that may be lost, even in their late 20s, early 30s, that may not know what direction or path they're going to take, and never, ever, ever should feel that they are not worthy of somebody being proud of them just because that they don't have some kind of career to be like, oh, look at what I did with my time. Because I know people who did not make it in life until they were 50, 60, 70 years old in life, and that's perfectly okay. Everybody in their own time, everyone in their own pace. And if tomorrow, for whatever reason, I stop to be Millie Pop, I'm still an extremely intelligent, bright, smart, pretty person, and you know what I mean? Like, has nothing to do with what I did as a career.
So I agree with that. I don't look at you and judge you based off how much money you have. I judge a person for how they greet me or how they treat me and others around me as well. Personally, for me, I feel like that reflects for me, but not for everybody around me. So that's kind of very judgmental if you were to judge other people based off their careers and their opportunities that they had within themselves. But my career frames me, and I don't think that it should be projected as something going towards like judging, like, hey, like you're a dentist, like, oh, you're a good guy. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. It's either you could be smart and you could be a I don't want to curse, but like a butthole,
Your point was, even if you're not successful, you don't have a career, you're still worthy because you're human. But it's not to say that one who is, let's say, proud of their career or proud of their accomplishments or degrees or accolades can't use that and say, hey, this is just a big part of me that I'm proud of.
100%. I think that everyone should be proud of whatever they've done, but to say that self-worth and career is mutually exclusive, to me personally, it should never be. Like, you should never, ever feel that way.
So, I didn't go yet, but I believe, so reputation is what others think of you, of what you are, and character is who you really are. So I consider myself an observer. Something that I really like about life is I like hiking and camping. And I had an experience where I solo hiked and camped in the wilderness in Switzerland, which was an experience that very few people actually do. Right? Very few people spend a night an hour away from the closest human being. And in that moment, when I did that, I realized I was really happy. I really enjoyed, seeing the stars, and I loved being next to the mountains. I love the wilderness. And I realized there's so much that I enjoy that had nothing to do with being successful. I mean, obviously you have to buy the plane ticket, but once you're by the mountains and once you have like some sort of safety mechanism, you can be a really happy person. So once you dissociate with the whole world of what you wear and what your reputation is, whose daughter are you, what city you're from, none of that matters, right? If you are thinking from a very grand, higher perspective of how lucky you are to have a life. In this generation where we have everything, we have heated toilet seats, right? And I mention that because when you're in the wilderness, there's no bathrooms, right? There's no warm water. Yeah, my self-worth is not tied to how much money my business makes. I think by being okay with complete failure, that's what motivated me to be able to risk it all, right? Because if you're okay with losing absolutely everything, if you think you're gonna be fine, then you have nothing to lose.
How do you feel if you have kids, though? So
that's different, yes. Once you have kids, you can't take risks as much, right? You have to support them. That's why I say, if you're playing this soccer game, if someone passes you the ball, first try to shoot. If you miss, maybe you have another opportunity. Maybe you can still get married, right? But still take the shot. And there's gonna be people that mind, right? People that think you're weird, right? I'm sure a lot of people think I'm weird for walking around with a sombrero. And
Definitely.
yeah.
It's genius, it's branding.
Yeah, so those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind.
Would you guys want to date or marry someone who doesn't associate their self-worth with their success or isn't successful? Like, wouldn't you want to associate yourself with someone who has made it, or someone that's ambitious or has something going on?
You obviously don't want to be dating somebody who has no prospects in life and has no path and any 5-year plan, you know what I mean? Like, even
some guys like that. Some guys like that.
But I think those guys don't associate their self-worth with their success, so they just don't care.
I have never met a man who's successful in life who doesn't have an astronomically supportive wife. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many successful men that I know, and even if their wives don't necessarily work in their business with them, their home life is 100% taken care of, to the point that they don't even have to think or worry that their children are not taken care of, not in school. Any man who I know that's like extremely, extremely successful has like a really strong partner behind them.
You know what they say, the man is the head and the woman's the neck. The man has all the thoughts, but the woman directs it where to go.
100%.
So there's a concept called the barbell strategy in finance, right? If you're investing, you invest 90% of your portfolio into something safe, and 10% like bonds, for example, and 10% in something risky like stocks or crypto, right? So similarly, you can do that with your time, right? You can invest 90% of your life into something safe, like let's say you want to be an accountant, or something that doesn't take too much risk, like $500,000 in debt degree from dental school, like at NYU, right? So once you have that safety net of 90% of your time going towards that, the 10% you could do something really risky, right? So whether you want to be an artist or you want to bake pastries, right? There's a lot of Bukharians that are successful in doing this pastry thing. There's a lot of cases actually during COVID. I have a friend that opened up a pizzeria. Now he has 4 locations all over the city. Basically, it's a barbell strategy because you have this safety in the center, and on the ends you have this volatility. And if you have enough of those experiences, you can test it out. Like for example, pickles wasn't my first venture. First I wanted to potentially be an artist, so I was painting after work. Every single day. Then I was thinking maybe I'll be a professor, so I taught math for a semester at Queens College. Then when I stumbled about pickles, I was like, you know what, this is actually something that's scalable. It's something I'm really good at, and something that I feel makes the world a better place. But I would recommend go for something a little bit safe without too much debt. For example, don't go for dentistry. And then potentially you can shift over to something, because otherwise you're going to be enslaved in something that you don't want to do for a very long time. And you have to do it.
Eddie and I grew up together. We literally lived across the street from each other. At one point, Eddie went into school. I went into school. I was cutting hair. I was the typical Bukharian. I was a barber while I was in high school and college. And I went into dentistry, and Eddie's not so happy about me going into dentistry. Why is that, Eddie?
I know I have at least 20 friends that are dentists. I met a lot while I was selling pickles. And what I noticed is that I've never met a person as a child, like ask any kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? No one says they want to be a dentist, right? I've only met one girl in my life that wants to be a dentist that really wanted to be a dentist. She was so enthusiastic about it. She volunteered at her local dentist office. She came up with lullabies for kids to sing when they brush their teeth to make them want it. So she was really passionate about it. If you're a person like that, go for dentistry. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you can also go for dentistry. Like if you want to open up your own business. But there comes a certain point where you spend too much for a degree. Like if I was to tell you tomorrow that you're going to spend $5 million for a degree at NYU to become a dentist, would you become a dentist?
But it's not $5 million.
But it's $500,000.
Guys, I have about almost $400,000 in debt. It means nothing.
I have a serious question. Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Do you feel a difficulty paying back your student loan?
Absolutely not.
So what's the difference to you?
I work very hard.
I know, I understand that, but like, what's the difference to you if,
like I said,
if he doesn't feel
So imagine
difficulty?
you have to dedicate a lot of time, a lot of years.
Anything you do in life, you have to dedicate a lot of time.
But there's no going back, right? So
there's
no optionality.
If I wanted to leave, I could leave. I could do something else.
But
I don't want to, though.
I don't think I don't think it's easy, because you have to spend.
It's not easy.
It's very difficult to be so dug into a profession and then risk it all. Like for example, if I was a dentist and I had $400,000 in debt, the debts are due. I can't risk, losing money for a few years making a pickle business. You really, it's very difficult to be an entrepreneur if you have this, or switch fields when you have too much debt in a field.
You're also looking at it a way like I got locked up in prison for 8 years. I've met people along the way. I've had experiences along the way. Because you weren't there.
I'd rather be in prison than look at teeth.
You said that you graduated without debt. Me, for example, when I was in undergrad, I graduated with student loans, and I still have those student loans, and I do balloons and flowers for a living, like nothing to do related to my degree. But if you ask me, I would never in a million years change the course of my path and not go to school or anything like I would still do everything as is and still graduate with my student debt.
No, but you probably have a much lesser degree of student debt. Right, there's a difference. I had $60,000 in debt from Columbia. Right, I did it. After a certain point, something becomes too expensive. Right, so if you told me NYU was $100,000 total or $200,000, I'd say okay. But there comes a certain inflection point where you're like, okay, now it's too expensive. Right, anything, whether it's a house, or there's a point where it's too expensive. Bukharians don't know what that point is. They just assume it's always worth it. But after a certain point, and the ones going, he's already 3 years out of dentistry. There's probably a certain point, I think we already passed it, where it's too damn expensive. You're going to go into debt, and no one wants to be a dentist. People want to be dentist business owners, right? Or they want to be surgeons in dentistry, or orthodontists, right? And if you want to be an orthodontist, newsflash, it's even more debt, right? It's like $600,000, $700,000 in debt, right? So there comes a point where it's too expensive. And everyone thinks it's this golden ticket. You go to Staten Island, you go to this Romano guy, you finagle your way into becoming this respected person in the community. And guess what? You're going to work your ass off. 6 days a week you're going to work just to pay off, just to make your first, and then some. Yeah, literally, you're gonna break your back.
But that's regardless of the business that you go into. No matter what business you go into, you're gonna break your back. You're gonna put in the hours. You're gonna be working.
But you might not even like it.
I think
that's anything that you try, though.
But it's straight. Like it's like 80% chance you're making the wrong decision, in my opinion. If you're gonna go for dentistry, if you're considering it, shadow someone. Like be 100% certain that you really want to do it.
I agree with shadowing.
I did it blindly. I'd never been in a...
So you got lucky.
I did it blindly. I went there. I went to dental school. When I'm the interview, I like two minutes before my interview, I went on YouTube to look at some procedures to like talk about it, right? Because I went in blindly. Luckily, I like it, and I think anyone in that field will like it if they just do it. But if you're a young person right now, and I agree with Eddie, to some point, everyone is going for dentistry. Every grandma you meet says, "Oh, мой внук тоже будет dentist." What school is he in? Oh, ему 15 лет. He's going to be a dentist. He's in the dental program. No, he's not in the dental program. Everyone is getting pushed towards it. It's not a gold mine. You have to work your ass off. Like, work your ass off. Stress. I used to come home at 9 o'clock every night. You can ask my wife. My wife's a dentist too. You have to go shadow people because I see all these kids wasting their time going to take this DAT. They get like really low scores, and then all of a sudden, oh, I never wanted to be a dentist, or oh, I got married. I don't want to do that, or now I do, pharmacy or a cash advance or this or that. It's not a gold mine. Study what you want to do. Like you have to really know what you're trying to get yourself into.
Yeah, don't do cash advance either. Please.
No, if you want to do cash advance, you should do a cash advance. If you like, if that's what you want to do it.
Yes, cash advance is legit.
It's a legit
customers
business.
who do that.
I just don't know why AJIC is so pressed on other people's careers.
It's too saturated. That's
You
the bottom line.
went to nursing school.
Okay,
How do you feel about your
So
debt?
at first, I was very upset about it because I was young, I was waitressing, I obviously don't have that amount of money. But when I thought about it, I said, how do rich people get rich? And they borrow other people's money. So what's the difference if I'm borrowing the government's money? And the way I'm looking at it is, okay, if I want to be a nurse and I want to make a salary and I want to make an X amount of money, I'm basically paying a subscription to the government for giving me that loan. And I'm paying 1,000, but I'm making 20. Okay, so that's the way that makes me feel better. I'm kind of looking at the cup half full, not half empty. And I feel like you're just very negative and very, it's not being realistic. It's also not hearing both sides or not considering both sides. I feel like you're even very pressed on your friend over here for being a dentist. I mean, it's what makes him happy.
Taking out a loan against the government, you were lucky enough to, I don't know if you did or didn't, but you probably invested your own funds into your own business. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who start businesses and take out loans.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of
also,
people who are not fortunate enough to have their own funds or have their parents' funds to put into their business. So literally, what's the difference?
The only difference is if you're going to a bank, then you could file a bankruptcy and you could get that loan dismissed. But then on a student loan standpoint, they also kind of work with you. They do it based off my salary, or even I could work my own place and do 1099 and say I would make $5 a year and pay whatever that loan is. When I die, that loan dies with me as well, so I don't have to worry about my future offsprings being responsible for my loan. And I feel like it's okay because scared money makes no money.
Well, I have nothing against nurses taking out loans. It's not that much.
And you see them for dentists. So.
Yeah. So for dentistry, for example, that's too much.
As an estate attorney, your debt actually, unfortunately, passes on to your estate.
I read my contract. It says no.
Ah, she's got a good contract then. Okay. I mean, for the viewers watching, so what we have here is an expansive.
At least my federal loan, it does not.
Oh, come on in. Let's go.
Albert.
Avi. Nice to meet you.
Okay, guys, I was listening from the back, and actually I finished my college degree in accounting in 1997. You probably didn't even were born that time. But anyway, Eddie, you have a good point, but everybody have their own choice to make. You know, like if, let's say at that time when I was in college, everybody was running for the pharmacist, to become pharmacist. Yeah. And that time, in 95, 96, St. John's was the one which everybody went, all Bukharians, like you said. I'm the oldest son, a couple of friends, they saying, Albert, let's go. We got already like credits in Queens College. You know, let's go to St. John's. I said, I have to pay, you know, like I don't have money, I'm the oldest son. It's all responsibility. If somebody would say, oh, you could take a loan, like you guys have a lot of information. Those days, we didn't have that information. Why I'm saying that? Regardless, if I would, let's say, somebody would push me and say, Albert, you go borrow the money or take whatever, $50,000, $60,000 to become a pharmacist. You know, regardless, I finished in finance. After 10 years, I was helping my father in the restaurant because we started expanding and expanding. Again, I had a choice and I had to take a risk. I didn't take a risk because I said, like, what would happen to me in the future? Will I make that money, like you said, that $50,000, $60,000? But nobody told me about the government loans, like you said, you know, like, and those days we were blind. We came with no English, with no knowledge. What I'm trying to say, you have a lot of information. You have internet. At that time, we didn't have internet. You know, we have DOS system. Microsoft was not even exist at that time. By saying $500,000, $300,000, that's a person's choice. And I like the way how he says, if I would not like it, I just go and let's say do barber again. Being in my business, I see a lot of barbers are successful. They like what they're doing. And also being in my business, I saw a lot of guys, they were barber and they have dental offices. They're not dentists or pharmacists, you know, like they have like also relatives, they open under their licenses and they're very successful.
So you make a good point that if you want to be a business owner for dentistry, you don't have to take out $500,000 in debt to be a dentist.
It's a choice.
Owner.
Right now, people is going to, because I see Sarah's YouTube channel, a lot of people listening. So we got to pass to our Bukharian people and to other communities, I don't want to discriminate others, that people taking their own choices, you know, and they making, nobody's pushing them. If they will have that $500,000, $300,000 loan, and like she said, when, God forbid, something happened to me, it will go with me, but it's like a business. I have a restaurant, you know, like we invested money, and we got successful. We paid off our loans, we continue. But what I was trying to say, listen, don't be afraid to take loans. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like I like how Milana says, if I would go back, I would still go and finish college. Why? You don't go to college only to get a degree. You go to college to meet people. When people said to me, I was taking ESL classes, what's your major? I'm like, what's major? I didn't even know what's the word major. And I said, introduction to life. They're like, what do you mean? Professor in economics, they're like, what do you mean introduction? I said, listen, I came from socialism to capitalism. I want to know how in this world you guys are live. So I came to learn English and I came to learn your system. You know, so college, it's not like you go there. When also he asked me, please raise your hands, who thinking by finishing college you will become like a millionaire. And everybody raised, and I was sitting like this, and he says, oh, smart guy. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm taking ESL classes. I don't understand half of the word what you say. And he's like, what are you doing in my class? I'm like, I had to take some credits, you know. I cannot sit for free in college. So my point is, I'm sorry that I got into this, and I like your opinion, but don't scare people by like, oh, don't take loan, think twice. Let them let them make their own choices, and then they will understand. You made your choice, you become very famous in our community and beyond.
Our Bukharian community within the last 30 years has mastered the code to something so incredible. Like, why do we have so many dentists in our community? It is because, like, one guy once upon a time discovered this Romano guy, figured out the code of the DAT, how to get in, all of that stuff. Like, it really is a science. Like, you have to be smart and you have to be intelligent and all of those things, but like, there really is a code to getting into school. There's a code to getting into higher education. There's a code to getting into an Ivy League school. There's really like a certain number of criteria that you have to hit, whether it's becoming an RN or a lawyer or whatever. We all know, we all went through this. We all asked for advice from somebody down the line somewhere. And so our Bukharian community kind of cracked that code and is and is helping each other out and being like, you know what you should do, you know where you should go, you know what class you need to take. And that's an amazing blessing, actually, I think, that like we all are supporting each other to like build each other up. The fact that we're like very supportive of each other to like kind of build each other is very important, and it's only going to take our community way farther in life.
It's very hard being Bukharian, Jewish, compared to the rest of American society. We have this immense pressure that by the time we're 20 years old, now I'm seeing kids now they're 19, 20 years old, that we need to get married, which means you have to start supporting your family. When you look at a job like dentistry, you, right after school, you will get an immediate, you will cover all your expenses that you need as a Bukharian Jew, because our expenses are way more than any other American. Any other American. It's like when I pay $300 for your chairs, man. I mean, and God bless you. I pay $300 per chair. It's a lot. When you have to go to 10, 15 of these, you know, and then when we have to go for like $40,000 flowers now, you know, and thank God we're doing that. That means we're at a level over here. We're over here, and in the next generation, I think we're going to be even further. My mom's a nurse, and my dad's a tailor. I'm a doctor. I think my kids, I honestly don't want my kids to be a dentist. I think they could even go further. I think they could do something different.
I think we're talking about conventional, unconventional, and you raise a good point. Mr. Romano, I've heard his name also, by the way.
God bless him.
So someone blazed the trail at some point, right? It wasn't conventional for Bukharians to have restaurants maybe 30 years ago. It probably wasn't conventional to have speech therapists or even nurses 30 years ago. At some point, everything we're doing was unconventional. Then there was a trailblazer. There's somebody who cracked the code, who found the system, and now we're sort of, benefiting from that. I think what Eddie is saying is we've cracked the dental code a long time ago. We've blazed that trail, and we've trod on that trail, and we don't want to go on that trail anymore because we have so many other trails we have yet to explore. So I think Eddie's point is let's explore other trails. Not that this trail is bad. We still need, dentists. We still need fillings and cleanings, and that's not going away. But at the same time, right, maybe let's turn what's now unconventional eventually to be conventional so we can expand, and we don't even know what we would enjoy unless we've tried it. And I think that's Eddie's point.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. You have to try everything. Like I was going to be a lawyer, and I worked at a law firm. And for 10 or 15 years of my life, I was like, can't wait to be a lawyer. I'm going to be the best lawyer. I'm going to sue everybody. I'm going to save everyone. And then I did it for like a few months, and I hated it. So definitely try it. If you think you want to be a hairdresser, try it. If you think you want to be an entrepreneur, try it. You could do drop shipping. You could do so many things. Don't just be scared sitting in your house. Trailblaze something new. Even with dentistry, you can get really creative. Like if you take care of your teeth, you can live a lot longer.
Just because you do choose an entrepreneur route or school isn't for you, taking a few classes can help you with networking. It can help you articulate your words clearly. It can help you with reading, which is very good with history and the dynamics of the world. I mean, even with like you, Edik, like you were in stocks and stuff, and if you weren't good with numbers, I mean, I don't know if you wouldn't be as successful, but you definitely wouldn't be as educated, which would have to put some of your salary or whatever you make from your business onto somebody else for them to get paid, and you're not making as much money.
So Albert made a very good point. So I'm not against taking loans out. I'm against taking too many loans. I think loans are an incredible tool. Take out a loan. Think about it. When you're young, when you're 18, you're earning what, $20 an hour at max? Once you graduate, you're going to be earning 3 times that, right? Double that. So you rather work after graduating, not while you're in school. So take out loans, 100% for it, leverage the government's money to make as much money as quickly as possible.
Sarah, this episode was brought to you by Uncle Eddie's.
Here's to super successful Bukharians.